Hello everyone and welcome to the 30,000 subscribers Q&A special. Straight up, this is going to be the last one of these I do for a while, so I'm going to try to answer more questions than usual, and apologies if yours didn't make it in. There were a lot of comments, and I tried to pick the ones that I hadn't answered before or I thought would make for interesting parts of the video. As you can see by this question, what are your opinions about the cheese and its different variants and flavors? You should do more cheese Nesses. The dastardly cheese Ness. Cheese is a top 3 most versatile food. It goes with kind of everything. It's probably just below potatoes and rice, but it's really an amazing food. I've been wondering if you have any relation to Cybershell. I've never noticed until your crossovers, but you two have a similar speaking cadence. I chose to answer this question because I actually have been asked multiple times if I'm related to him, and the answer is no, we are not. We just happen to sound similar, though I'm gonna be honest, I don't really hear it, but I get told it a lot. What's your favorite Megaten game? Now, I want to be clear here, I haven't played a ton of Megaten. I've played most of Persona 1, I played Persona 3, 4, and 5. Then of the core series, I played Nocturne and SMT5 all the way through. And on Bubble Tea's recommendation, I'm currently playing through Digital Devil Saga. My gut response says Persona 3, but it's right up there with Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. That one was pretty amazing. It was just kind of the last couple hours that felt very grindy to me to get the true ending. Which leads right into, do you like any other series? Let me see, what comes to mind first off the top of my head are the Legend of Zelda and Mega Man series. I like all the Mario RPGs and I'm pretty into Animal Crossing. What's my favorite song in the Mother series? This is a very difficult question. I think I have to pick one from each game, so that would be Mother Earth from Mother 1, then Boy Meets Girl from Mother 2, and then probably Sirius from Mother 3. Some of your jokes show that you are knowledgeable on the Bible and Christ. I was wondering if you were a Christian or were raised in a Christian household. I've actually been asked this for every Q&A I've done so far, and this time around it was actually the most liked comment on the post, so I feel kind of obligated to answer it. Short answer is, yes, I am a Christian. Do you think we will see more Persona videos in the future? I really like the one you made. Thank you so much. And by the way, I wasn't thinking about it when I made it, but people seem to think that my monkey channel is like a Persona channel, and it's not. It just happens to be the only video there now. Those videos are going to touch on an array of topics, franchises, and different kinds of artistic mediums. And I'm not going to say no, there will never be a Persona video again or saying, but I will say at this current time, I don't really have any other ideas for them. And I'm not promising this because it would be incredibly difficult to make, but I have bounced around the idea of doing a Persona 3 analysis series. What's your opinion on Mother's Smash Bros representation? I've always felt like it was a bit weaker than it should be. I don't know, 2 characters, who knows how many songs, and what are there, like 3 or 4 stages or something? For a series that only has 2 games localized outside of Japan, and let's see, the last one came out almost 20 years ago. I don't know, I feel like sure, there's certain elements that perhaps could have been a touch better, but there's also a ton of spirits too. I don't know, for how little game content there is outside of like the games themselves and how far in the past they've come out at this point, I don't know, it's hard for me to be ungrateful, you know? And with the sheer amount of franchises that are represented in that series, I'm sure you could nitpick like all of them in some way, right? Do you think Mother 3 will ever be localized? This just depends on the day for me. Sometimes I feel like it's just completely inevitable, and other times I'm like, no, it's never going to be. Sorry I don't have a more direct answer, but I'll just say I'm never at a point where I would 100% say it won't happen. Will you ever do a full gameplay of Mother 3 but it's horribly translated? Your video was hilarious and I was a bit disappointed it wasn't the full game because it was just so great and I want to see the whole thing. I misread that a bit, sorry. I've considered streaming it, but I'm gonna be honest, when it's not cut up into like little tiny clips like that video was, it's not as enjoyable to watch. And I have had several people ask me over the past year if I'm going to continue it, and I even did say I was going to at some point, but I just want to be clear, at this time I don't have any plans to continue that series, sorry to say. A couple people have asked me how I've developed my sort of analytical eye when looking at media. This person even brought up my analysis of the moles in the series, which was like one of the most highly criticized points of the entire series, which I think that's completely fair, but I do think people tend to forget that that series is just like a personal interpretation thing, and it's also meant to be provocative at some point. Like, I'm never trying to suggest that every single thing I say in that series is like what was intended by a toy, and I think that gets lost in translation sometimes, particularly because I think a lot of people don't necessarily know they're meant to be a series and stuff like that. But anyway, The simplest answer I could give you is that I do a lot of studying. I read a lot of books and I watch a lot of movies. It's that plus adding one more element in, which is like kind of treating every element I see as intentional and not incidental. Over time, you get a better grasp on it. And I also want to be clear, I don't think people necessarily are good or bad at analyzing media. I think people just bring their own different perspectives to it, and that's all. If Mother was off the table for some reason, what would be your second choice of game franchise to dedicate your channel to? To be completely honest, I don't know if there is another one I could even think of. Some people would probably immediately jump to Persona because I talked about Persona one time, but maybe The Legend of Zelda? What are your thoughts and hopes for lost Mother projects like Mother 4/Oddity? I mean, my hope is always that they'll eventually get done, right? And I don't think that's completely off the table as well. I think it's totally possible at some point it'll be finished, but point being, I see what you're saying, like thoughts on like stuff like that feels kind of abandoned. It's sad, but I mean, at the same time, I've kind of just come to terms with certain things like that. And I understand that it's a lot of people putting a lot of work into something they're not necessarily seeing any compensation for. And, you know, when you're like 15 or something and you're doing things over the internet, that's one thing. But once you're, you know, in your late 20s, your 30s, maybe even your 40s, you know, you can't dedicate your time to something like that all the time. And I understand that. And that kind of makes the whole wound in this process like heal up quite a bit. Which creators would you like to collaborate with? There's several I'd like to collaborate with again, but in terms of people I haven't with, this might be a weird one to a lot of people because I don't think a lot of people would expect it, but I would love to do something with Ryan Trahan, and I know we are in completely different genres of content and he's in a way different league, but I just really love his stuff. I would love to do something with Stephen George at some point, but those are kind of the only two that come to mind right away. How often would you say you make your favorite thing in Mother 2 something really dumb? You know, I'm just gonna say it, I'm completely boring. I pretty much never make my favorite thing or any of the characters' names like not the defaults. There are very few exceptions to this, and some of them are even in like my playthrough series that are on my main channel still. How long did it take you to complete all the Ness drawings in that short you made? Yes, I did a short where I drew Ness 100 times last month, which I hope you enjoyed, by the way. I decided I wanted to come back to shorts, but if that I was going to do it, I wanted to do something more special for them and not let them just feel like my regular content, but less. I really wanted to make them special, so I hope you guys have enjoyed some of the weirder ones I've been doing recently. But those took me, I don't know, 2-3 hours maybe. It wasn't that long. I was also very surprised by how many people clearly didn't get that I was like doing a bit for that and wasn't actually like seriously trying to like get better at drawing, because like there are just so many comments from people saying like you can't just draw something a million times and expect to get better. It's like, oh man, I feel so bad for making people misled. What's your favorite book that you read in the past year? There's a couple that come to mind. Both of them are actually novellas, but I really like The Stranger by Albert Camus. I read that around December. I thought that was quite good. And I also read In Watermelon Sugar, which was quite good, and that was recommended to me by my friend Shane. In total, how many times do you think you've completed each game, and have you played any fan games? I think I've played Mother 1 all the way through 5 or 6 times. Mother 2 is definitely the one I played the most all the way through. I've played that game upwards of 30 or 40 times. And Mother 3 I've played through, I'm gonna say 8 to 12 times, somewhere in that ballpark. And as for fan games, no, not really. I haven't really played any of them, actually. I did play the demo for Mother Encore when that came out. That was very good. And I still gotta play the paper Mother 3 demo that came out last month. What was your favorite video to work on besides the Iceberg? Oh my gosh. Well, first let me say, the Iceberg is the video I would say that has come the close to killing me. I probably spent upwards of like 70 to 80 hours editing that, and that was like the most exhausting experience of my life. When that was finished, I did feel kind of like I was going to die. Nonetheless, I am still very proud of that video, don't get me wrong, and thank you all, by the way, for helping it to be the first video on the channel to reach 1 million views. In terms of my favorite video to work on, I think the dark story that inspired Mother 3 is up there. That was one that took a lot of work. I ended up re-editing that video probably 2 or 3 times, something like that. because it took me a while to figure out what the visuals should be, because initially I was just going to use clips from the movie, but then there were copyright problems with that, so I had to like keep re-editing it to figure out what I could use and what I couldn't use, and I eventually ended up using a lot of screenshots from it instead. But that was a really fun one, because particularly in like the last third of it, when we're talking about the third novella, I feel like I got to get a lot artsier than usual than I do with some of my videos, and I think that one turned out like very well. I think it's some of the best storytelling I've done in a video. Not to mention, it was just a dream come true to be making a video with Cybershell. I was wondering if you're planning on branching out your content on the main channel to less mother-centric topics. It feels like at some point there's not going to be much left to say about these games, but you do keep proving me wrong. I've gone back and forth on it, and ultimately that is what led to me making the Monkey channel, just to make videos that aren't mother-centric, but as you can see, I still have quite a bit to talk about with Mother. Never say never, but as of now, that question's very up in the air. There are plenty of other games that aren't the Mother series that I have thought about and even would like to do analysis series on. But, you know, first I want to finish the Mother series, analysis series, before I move on and think about stuff like that. And it also is a matter of, like, waiting for the right time and what I think is the right video idea. Oh, and speaking of, are there going to be other analysis series for other games? I kind of want to see your perspective and feel on Sonic 06 in a full series. I don't like that game myself, but would be interested. I don't want to be misconstrued. Ever since I made that Sonic video, people think I think Sonic 06 is a good game because of definitely what is a clickbait title, I will grant you that, but I do not think Sonic 06 is a good game. I need to make that clear, and I do think the story has a lot of problems. But the answer is the same to this question as it was for the previous one, though it might be interesting to do like an analysis on Sonic 06, just kind of like also picking apart the problems with it. You know, like a more negative take on an analysis series, that could be interesting, but that might just get grating over the length those end up being. Anyway, no, I'm not objected to doing analysis series of like other games, and I don't know, maybe even I'll do one before I do another Mother game after I finish the Earthbound one. What I know for sure is I'm not doing another one until at least the Earthbound one's finished. So maybe ask me later. Are you Canadian? I don't know why, but you seem inherently Canadian to me. No, I am not. What was your easiest and hardest video to make? So hardest was definitely the Iceberg. Like I said, that video nearly killed me. But the easiest video? Probably one of my earlier video essays. I mean, I could say like any playthrough video where I just wasn't editing them. But in terms of like my actual like fully edited videos, the easiest one may have been like the American Ness versus Japanese Ness. And finally, when will you be making the video series on analyzing Mother 3, which so many have asked about in this Q&A and several other ones? I will confirm, at this time, I fully intend on doing a Mother 3 analysis series, and I'm even thinking about how to do it, like, as of now. But like I said, it is not something I'm even really thinking that deeply about until the Earthbound one is complete. I don't know if I'm going to do it next or I'm going to do Mother 1 next, but here, the definitive thing I can say is it won't be until at the latest, the very end of next year or something like that, maybe even further. Okay, thank you all for 30,000 subscribers and listening to these Q&As I've been doing over the past, I don't know, 6-8 months or something here. I've had a lot of fun doing them, and thank you all so much for watching my videos. There won't be a Q&A for 35,000. I don't know when the next one will be exactly, maybe something like a bigger milestone or something like that, but thank you all so much, and I hope you have a good one.